But for now, we're going to be getting into a second interview whereby we're joined by Anthony Mureithi, who is an official at Kenya Swimming Federation and also media liaison officer over there. And he's here to talk about, well, what everyone has been asking for the last, 11, we're actually in December, so the last 1 year. When are we going to have the elections? The Kenya Swimming Federation elections?
Elections. Before we discuss elections, let's discuss the success that is Kenyan swimming at
Of course, we're going to be getting to that.
Yes.
But when are we going to have the elections?
We were looking at the governance committee of the interim management committee of swimming in Kenya. This is under the chairmanship of the judge of the SDT, which we are very thankful for. There are a few issues we'd like to look at. One, obviously, the new constitution has to be accepted. Whatever went to FINA came back with their recommendations. Now the general membership of swimming has to accept that, and then that has to be put into play, and then we should be having the elections. So maybe late December, early January, or sometime in the next 2 months.
So you don't have an exact date of when we shall have them?
Obviously, this is a process, and it's a series of events, and each might have a different outcome. For example, if we go to the general meeting and then the membership are happy and say, we accept the constitution the way it is, then the elections come much earlier, maybe even on the day. But if we go and the membership, who are the supreme owners of swimming, say, we want this and that change, then again, the constitution has to go back to FINA, is approved and comes in. Obviously, we won't be here next year at such a time with an interim management committee. Soon, very soon, we are going to have these elections. But the beautiful thing, which I'd like to discuss, is that everyone now is speaking the same tone. Swimming is at a very good place. In fact, all the stakeholders, the coaches, the parents, the swimmers, we are in this together. We're all speaking the same voice. So this is a good time for swimming in Kenya.
Well, that I have to agree with that when it comes to the successes. We had Team Kenya winning the Kana Zone 3 Championship yesterday. It was being hosted at Kasarani. And also, on top of that, we have our own very own KSF president, that is Patrick Muya. He was elected one of the committee members of the Confederation of African Swimming, that is Kana Zone 3 Bureau, on the elections that were held yesterday. So at least we have, well, we have one election happening, even if we're not having ours here in Kenya.
Maybe one of the things I'd like to discuss about Kana, and it's
in regards to yesterday's tournament.
Yes, yesterday's event. It came to an end with open water, which happened for the first time. We must praise the able leadership of Jen Minor. She's one of our parents from Canada. Her sons grew up here, competed here. The family moved to Canada. They're still competing there. And the many parents who came on board to help that event happen. I'm also looking at the officials, the coaches. It was a serious synergy, but obviously we must discuss the able leadership of Jen Minor. She led the local organizing committee, and that's why we had such a successful event. Despite the government bringing in support in different ways, but not monetary, we did thank the government. We got security. There's so many things the government offered, but we were hoping we'd get that big check. This would have allowed all the swimmers selected to take part. Obviously, some clubs came up and raised money to accommodate the swimmers. The swimmers who couldn't have afforded to be in camp, people raised money for them, and they did go into camp. We had a few county bodies pay for some of the qualifiers to come. So it's a good time in swimming. In fact, if I was a sponsor out there, and we thank KCB, Kenya Commercial Bank, Emirates, and Magic, and the mall, the Karen Waterfront Mall, for coming in and sponsoring this event in a big way, and all the sponsors who came on board. This event was a success because of all the people who came on board and helped, and the masses of volunteers. No one was paid to run this event. In fact, I was impressed by someone saying, "Oh, the organizing committee is getting 3,000 shillings." These are just misplaced rumors. I ended up spending my money, and it's for a good cause. I looked at the faces of the kids receiving their medals. cheering. You'd see the Team Kenya singing the songs there and psyching themselves up. And the interactions, these kids met kids from all over Africa. This was good for them, and it's worth every effort we put in there.
Okay.
Yeah, a purely volunteer-run event.
Quick question, Murithi.
Yeah.
Why do we at the moment have all the active tournaments happening, or that have been happening this year? It's only for the juniors. When it comes maybe under 15, under 12, and with the Olympics, you know, the Olympics are approaching obviously next year in Tokyo, Japan. When are we going to actually see these guys who should be, you know, representing our senior teams and whatnot, you know, actually in this tournament? Or when is the organization, the federation rather, going to take an active role in organizing most senior tournaments?
Kana had the seniors in it. In fact, for example, yesterday in open water we had 15 and above. So above could be as old as 99.
No,
but I don't expect a 99-year-old. But I understand where you're coming from. You're asking, where are these older swimmers? Now, this is a very important question. Now I'll answer it personally. I'm also a coach. What do I see? We have people swimming at the highest level of swimming, and these people train. They train hard. The amount of work they put in a day, they need support. Now, I have swimmers who don't pay to swim. We basically sponsor them. But now they're big people. They're grown up. They need to eat. They need to sleep. So we are now trying to look for support for these swimmers. You're a grown up. You need to go and compete with Michael Phelps. You need to swim the whole day, basically, train the whole day to be effective against these top swimmers. Now, if we don't get that support for these swimmers, then they have to go and work. When they go and work, then they can't obviously perform as well. So when you talk about qualifying for the Olympics, these people, they are unprofessional athletes. They are not professional athletes in quotes, because what are the motivating factors for an 18-year-old to continue swimming? These are the things we are now looking at, and we are looking at them. We are saying they need to be funded, they need to be supported, and where will this money come from? Swimming is a big sport in terms of age group. We have thousands and thousands of families. When a child swims, the dad is there, the mom is there, the brothers are there, even the grandparents are there. So this is a wonderful channel. If you are sitting somewhere in your sales department meeting and you're looking for opportunities to activate your products, to market them, come to swimming. We have the middle class. We will sell your products, and obviously we only support products that are good for the general swimming public. Unfortunately, we don't market alcohol unless it's for the master's programs where only adults are involved. But for these normal things we use every day, the omos, the parcels, we have the families there. So that's one channel we are looking at. How do we get our swimmers, the top swimmers, to be attached to different products, become the ambassadors, help move the products? And some of these products are wonderful. I was looking at a sports drink the other day, and I've been trying to use it myself at a serious workout. I do work out despite the tummy. This is coaching knowledge.
Of course.
And it's quite effective. I've had some of my athletes come out from a serious land work training. They've done like an hour running, gym stuff. And we can still get them back in the water in the evening and still push a 4-kilometer workout because they've regained the salts and such things. So I'm not talking about energy drinks. I'm talking about sports drinks. The ones that we've seen when we talk about nutrition and all these other things. So this is an area we are approaching, and we are getting solutions. Swimmers are about solutions. We are not about problems. No. This is an area that is ripe for the marketers to come on board and will help them move their product. On their part, they'll help us sponsor these events and make them even more wonderful.
Okay.
Yes.
But really, there's a question you still haven't answered.
Yes.
Do we have a slight idea in regards to the swimmers who are going to be representing us in next year's Olympics? And if yes or no, when it comes to qualifying for the Olympics, of course, you have the A time, you have the B time, but most of our athletes, we've come to get used to this situation whereby we no longer have the, can I use luxury for a bit of lack of a better word, luxury of qualifying with the A time or making the A time or the B time, which is where we have to qualify on, you know, is it universality time.
Yeah.
So are we going to have a scenario whereby we are also going to have trials, despite the fact that, well, we can be quite certain we're not going to make the A and B time?
Okay, that's an important question. It still goes back to how well do we motivate our swimmers. Now, we have swimmers making these times. We have Rebecca Kamau, most of you call her Becky. She's swimming quite well. You should have seen her in the All African Games. Her breaststroke was wonderful. It actually got us a bronze medal. Not to slide the other swimmers, they did their effort. Those 4 swimmers, any of them. Now, whether they'll qualify or not is a matter of them going to a meet and seeing what they'll do. But can I rephrase the question differently?
Yeah, sure.
Let's take athletics. If I go and run in a small marathon somewhere, it wouldn't even come on TV or even on radio. It wouldn't even make the press. And I win, I get 100,000, 200,000. And our swimmers, when they win, especially the older ones, so far they've been getting motivation in terms of recognition, there's a medal, there's a certificate. This we've been giving. We are now going to move to the next level, and we will try and get the funds. And once again, when there is funds being given out to the top player, it will always attract more people to watch. Now, will we have qualifiers for the Olympics? I cannot answer directly and say, yes, we will. It depends on how well the swimmers will perform. Our swimmers improving? Yes, so many records have been broken. We had a young boy, I think he's 12, and he's actually beating all of Jason's times at his age.
At 12?
At 12. Not the ones he did when he was 16 or 17. The ones he did when he was 12. So we are seeing a crop of new swimmers who within the next few years will be there. We have older swimmers who are doing very well, like Sian Omondi. He's well placed. In fact, if not 2020 Olympics, definitely he'll be there in 2024 Olympics.
Okay.
And even medal. How do we retain them? How do we keep them in the sport? This is actively being thought about, and action is being taken about it. So let me not say we will qualify or won't, because it's for the athletes to dive into the pool and make the A times. The B times are nice. We'll try and get more slots, but we want the A times. I know that's what you're asking.
Exactly.
Shall we make the A times? Yeah. It's up to the athletes.
It's up to the athletes.
Yeah, but they have the opportunities.
Now, allow me to ask you a question you asked me a moment ago. What keeps you, or what does an 18-year-old has to gain from, you know, continuing swimming? Because that question comes down to the fact that, as I mentioned, you guys are actually organizing a lot of junior tournaments. We've had them at Makini, we've had them everywhere actually, and Coach Karani has been on the forefront of doing all that. But at the same time, you're talking about kids breaking Danford's, you know, records back when he was 12. But then again, what happens to these swimmers? What happens
to these kids later on?
Exactly, that's my question.
Let me start from the world beaters, the United States of America. They win most of the Olympic medals in swimming, and they're doing very well as a country. And when we think about them, we say, oh, these guys are doing so well. I watched some articles on CNN, and they were about bribes for grades. And one thing that came out clearly from that article in CNN was that all the Ivy League universities reserve quite a big chunk of their slots, acceptance into university, for athletes. Yes, you do meet the grades, but because you're top in swimming, lacrosse, and golf, and all these other sports, you will get acceptance. So for any child, a normal child in the USA, swimming to the highest level will help you go to the course of choice you'd like to study at the university. So that motivates them to train. Then there's a lot of endorsement. There's a lot of marketers who've realized by coming to TV and advertising our products, the people are aware of our products. Now we need for them to interact with those products and to activate. So they use these athletes as ambassadors, and they go forward and they become ambassadors of this and that product. Now, what this has done is there's a bit of money in terms of sponsorship, and it has really motivated those swimmers. That's why the USA is beating us, because when a child dives into the pool, when a swimmer dives in there, he's training hard for certain goals. There's a lot of extrinsic motivators. Now come to Kenya, it's all internal. I want to go to the Olympics. You have to pay for pool use, you have to pay for your coach, you have to pay for entries. Yes, last year we saw the burden of the officials traveling to trips offloaded from the families. KSF paid for that for the first time. And this they did because they had money, and they had money collected from all the galas. Once again, it speaks of the development that has happened in the last 2 years of this IMC.
True.
So swimming is improving, and we will get to that point where all these top swimmers will train without having to think about the costs of training. So it is a journey. We have taken it. We are reaching there, and we are quietly identifying top officials, quiet people who like to come on board and help us, like they did during the Kana meet. We saw a lot of help. So I hope I've answered your question.
You have to some extent, but let me just delve into another point, because you've mentioned all the challenges that we are facing in Kenya. And then again, you've given a very good example of the situation like in a country like the US, whereby they don't have all these issues, as you would call them. And as you were explaining to me, something hit me. It seems that we have all the knowledge to solve these issues, but then again, year in, year out, we never do. Why is that?
For swimming, I must say, we are doing it. We are doing it. We just hosted an event without money from the government. And we did it. We had a lot of support from the parents, from corporate bodies coming in. We did it. Are we approaching these corporates to come in and market through our sport? Yes, we are doing it. And we are starting to see the fruits. And more importantly, they are starting to see the fruits. They are benefiting from associating with swimming. It's a positive sport. I'll tell you, this is a good time to be a swimmer. If you did stop swimming, come back. This is the time to be in swimming, and it's a sport that has many opportunities for every child. So both personal, you develop by being in the sport, and now we are starting to see the gains. Even for the child sitting somewhere in Umoja, there is a program in Umoja 1 primary school, courtesy of the MP there, Honorable George Theuri. He built a pool, and they're running programs there. And this is happening across. We're seeing every private school put up a swimming pool. So swimming is growing as a sport. Soon enough, we'll be looking at, in Nairobi alone, over 100,000 swimmers. We have branches sprouting up every day. So is it a growing sport? Yes. Are we getting more numbers coming in? Yes. Are we breaking more records? Yes. And for the first time, we're seeing more seniors stay with the sport longer. Even Rwanda, the swimmer is trained by us. Billy, we trained him. Some of these Ugandan swimmers, we are training them here. We're talking about clubs like Mombasa Aquatic, Bubbles here, Otters. We train swimmers from the whole of East Africa. Some come and win our medals, though.
Of course, you've mentioned the swimming clubs. You mentioned Nairobi, Mombasa. And the funny thing is, you've gone to Uganda, Tanzania. But then again, you do realize that with everything that's happening, the county, everything needs to be at the county level. Most of these swimmers, do we have them at the county level? And maybe what can you do to make them all inclusive? Because, well, you never know, maybe there's another Jason Danford in there somewhere.
Now, obviously, the first point is to have programs. By a swimming program, I mean a pool that is open continuously, a coach that is coaching there, and then the kids going for competition under a banner of a club. Swimming is club-based, and schools have been supporting it. In the past, swimming in Kenya was mainly school-based. Now we are seeing very strong club. I'll explain the difference between the school and club-based. A club is someone like me getting up and saying, okay, I'm going to start a club. A group of parents come together and say, we're going to start a club. And they register one, they get a pool, they get a coach, and they start working. In my case, I would be coaching, employ a few other coaches. And we bring in kids and coach them. So obviously someone is funding the program. You buy kits and you go for competitions. From here we develop swimmers. But schools do get them from zero, most schools, and they teach them how to swim, introduce them to early competition. But because school competition is limited, clubs pick up. Now, if you go to the USA, I have one of my swimmers traveling to visit some relatives, and he's swimming with a club with 1,200 swimmers. I boast of the biggest club, McKinney Sports Academy. It has 500 swimmers. Yeah? So you can compare the two. This is one club in Texas, USA, with 1,200. We've seen Hamilton Aquatics with 1,750. Now, obviously, this brings in the masses, and more importantly, it brings down the costs of coaching. If the government will be encouraged, and we will tell them why they need to do that, to avail more sporting facilities like what Mr. Theory has done. We don't want free things. We want to pay for our pool use time because that's the way swimming we work. But let these facilities be available. The coaching staff is there. Yeah, Kenya Swimming Coaches and Teachers Association has been training quite a number of coaches. The Kenya Swimming Coaches Association has also been producing coaches. So the manpower is there. And are we developing it to be able to handle top athletes? Yes. We are conducting a series of clinics with the top coaches to come and show our coaches what we are doing, both from Kenya, the top coaches from Kenya, and the top coaches from other countries like South Africa and the States. So swimming is growing. We're developing the skills. We've talked to some MPs to emulate others and build facilities. Private schools are building facilities. So the number of pools before in Nairobi was like 6 that was accessible to the public. Now there are over 150 in Nairobi. Go to Naivasha. There are over 8 good pools there. As in every town. Even Machakos, I was surprised we have over 6 good pools with a program running. So is every child learning how to swim? Yes. Okay, not really. But you can say now the percentage has gone up to 50%. Oh, I wish. Maybe 30%. But the number is increasing. In another 10 years, by the time maybe I'm quitting from swimming in maybe 100 years from today, since I'm a very young man at heart, we'll probably have every child a swimmer in this country, because that's one other program of KSF, where they're trying to get every child into a swimming program.
You see, I'm going to go back to another question it's another one you dodged earlier on. You see,
now
for swimming,
I'll handle it now.
Swimming has made major strides over the years, let's be honest. Remember, there was a time events couldn't even be held because there was KSF, then you had NASA, both want different things or the same thing but in different ways. It was all confusion. But at the moment, everything seems to be okay. But then again, why are we not yet good on the constitution bit, which will allow us to have an election?
Okay, maybe I'll talk a little bit about NASA versus KSF. Nairobi Amateur Swimming Association, then the Nairobi Swimming Association, was a county body in charge of swimming in Nairobi. And it has always been a county body. Then in 2015, there was a bit of misunderstanding, a bit, not a lot. And I was in charge of the group that formed Kenya Swimming Federation Nairobi branch. And on this end, there was Nairobi Swimming Association. And both groups continued, and we did well. But KSF was still KSF. It's always been KSF. Never have we ever had to. And then now we came together. Now we are Nairobi County Swimming Management Committee. Some of us call it Nairobi Water. But that's a body responsible for swimming in Nairobi. And Nairobi being the center of politics, as in even its capital city of Kenya, it also happens to be the capital city of all matters governance, even in swimming. So when these two bodies came together, there was harmony. But the constitution, for it to be acceptable, it's not like anyone is stopping it. No, we want it to be good for everyone. And people have been discussing it, the membership. So it's a process. No one is stopping it. In fact, people are happy with the process. They're not happy with the speed. They're very unhappy when they say it. Oh, we want this to go quicker. But they're happy that they're being consulted, their input is being listened to, and whenever they suggest changes, they're put in. And that's where we sit.